After years of silence at the negotiating table, Russia and Ukraine finally held direct talks in Istanbul. But what many hoped would be a step toward peace ended in frustration. No breakthrough emerged, and Russian President Vladimir Putin's decision to skip the meeting triggered strong reactions from Kyiv and several European capitals. Within hours of the talks ending, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky joined a phone call with US President Donald Trump, along with French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk. The call took place on the sidelines of the European Political Community Summit in Tirana, Albania, where all 5 European leaders were gathered with Zelensky. Spoke with US President Donald Trump, discussed meeting in Istanbul. Zelensky posted on Telegram, "Ukraine is ready to take the fastest possible steps for real peace, and it is important that the world holds strong positions. Our position? If the Russians refuse a complete and unconditional ceasefire and killings, there must be strong sanctions." In a Fox News interview, Trump dismissed claims that Russia's involvement in the Ukraine peace talks was lacking, saying Moscow had shown readiness to engage. However, he did not rule out imposing devastating new sanctions on Russia should no agreement on Ukraine be reached. The Istanbul meeting offered a rare diplomatic opening. Zelensky had invited Putin for direct talks, but the Russian leader declined and instead sent aide Vladimir Medinsky to lead the delegation. Zelensky, who dispatched his defense minister to head Ukraine's team, criticized the low rank of the Russian negotiators.
And you can also see that the Russian delegation that came to Istanbul is of a very low level. None of them are people who actually make decisions in Russia. Still, I send our team to Istanbul, led by Ukraine's Minister of Defense, at least to see if those Russians can actually decide anything.
Despite a limited outcome, an agreement on prisoner exchange, frustration followed the talks. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, writing on X, accused Moscow of refusing to commit to a ceasefire. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer echoed that view, telling Sky News that Russia's negotiation stance remained clearly unacceptable and that similar situations had played out before. On the sidelines of the EPC summit, Zelensky also met with European Council President Antonio Costa and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. He welcomed preparations for the EU's 17th sanctions package, aimed at hitting everything that finances the Russian military machine: banks, oil, energy, metallurgy, and the shadow fleet. Zelensky's diplomatic push continued with meetings involving Moldovan President Maja Sandu, Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson, Bulgarian President Rosen Zelyaskov, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, and Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof. Though the Istanbul talks didn't deliver the breakthrough many hoped for, the return to direct dialogue and the rare coordination call involving Trump suggested diplomacy remains on the table, even if the road to peace is still long.